Hey everybody, got something to share with you. You may or may not know this, but Harriet Tubman is still making waves in American politics and in the political theater of today, even though she died in 1913. Stick around, I'll explain what I mean. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on this episode of The Real World Prepper. All right, so Harriet Tubman was an American abolitionist and political activist. She was born into slavery. Tubman escaped and subsequently made some 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 enslaved people, family, and friends using the network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses known as the Underground Railroad. Now, you guys all know this story, surely. American history, as a child, most of us were taught about the Underground Railroad and slavery and Harriet Tubman's role, very important role that she played in freeing slaves and helping to turn the tide of slavery in the United States. You know, certainly an activist, abolitionist, you know, important historical figure, no doubt. But how is she making waves today? All right, you guys may or may not know, but former President Obama announced back in May of 2016 that former slave, Union Army spy, and the conductor of the Underground Railroad would replace President Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill. As the note was already being redesigned for security reasons, for counterfeit security reasons. So they thought at the same time, President Obama thought, well, we'll change the face, you know, from President Andrew Jackson to Harriet Tubman, since we're making these big changes to the bill anyway. These changes are still underway. They're still being worked on. Obviously, we still have the same $20 bill we've had for however many years now with Andrew Jackson on the cover, but they are you know, the Secretary of the Treasury, Stephen Mnuchin, is charged with leading this security update for the $20 bill. That's, I believe, the most counterfeited bill out there is the 20. So that's the reason for it. The same year that former President Obama made that announcement, 2016, then candidate Donald Trump, in an interview with Matt Lauer, you know, the former NBC pervert who has now disappeared into the woodwork, crawled back into a hole where he came from, and NBC carries on as if he never existed. Well, he was being interviewed by Matt Lauer, I think, on the Today Show, and he gave his opinion on the matter when he was asked, and he went on to say, Trump went on to say, that he thought that it was solely for political pandering and for the sake of political correctness, the change that Obama had wanted, putting Harriet Tubman on the 20 in place of former President Andrew Jackson. Now, I agree that it's just for political pandering and political correctness. Obama was a master of race baiting. There's no doubt that Tubman played a major role in helping to free slaves. My notes, by the way, so forgive me for reading. There's no doubt that she played a major role in helping to free slaves, but the reasons for the proposed change are seemingly politically charged. This is par for the course, again, for the race-baiting work of former President Obama, who did more harm than good when it comes to race relations in the United States. I don't think there's many that would disagree with that, certainly that watch this channel anyway. But more than that, the Tubman $20 bill debacle has stepped into crazy town, with Democrats going nuts over President Trump's delaying of the change until at least 2028. At this point, it will not be revisited, as I understand it, until 2028 per an order from President Trump. There have been, meanwhile, there have been hearings, political acts set forth, public service announcements, organized protests, grassroots efforts, and more that frame the delay as a slap in the face to black people and to Harriet Tubman's legacy, as well as claims by the Democrats that white America only wants to dismiss the blacks' contributions to our country's history. Now, that's a ridiculous notion, in my opinion, okay? why spend all the money, time, and resources fighting this battle when we've got so many other more important things that are going on right now? You know, food shortages, flooding, fires, you know, the dismantling and crumbling of our nation and our Constitution and everything else that you hear us talk about on this channel and other channels like it. So many of these Democratic lawmakers that are getting behind this whole Tubman debacle, they've taken to media to express this ridiculous notion and have pandered shamelessly along the way. At a recent rally in Washington, a Democratic senator from New York, cited by activists, cited by Tubman family members, and none other than Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We all know who she is. You know, she's the obstructionist, corrupt, lying Democratic representative from Florida who helped Hillary Clinton cover up crimes. So this senator, cited by all these folks I just mentioned, he goes on and addresses the crowd with notions of his own shame and the shame that we all should have by not being more inclusive with people of color on our currency, announcing that white people did not build this nation and our currency should reflect that. Now, I would ask you this, in the grand scheme of things, does this really matter? I mean, we can all agree, I would think, that, you know, sure, it wasn't solely white people that built this country. It was majority white people, white Europeans, that built this country. But in the face of everything else that's going on, does a face on a dollar bill, on a currency note, Federal Reserve note, does it really matter? Is it worth all of this bickering and fighting and distraction, really? So recently, also Representative Ayanna Pressley, she's a Democrat from Massachusetts, and you can pull this video up, and I encourage you to do so. She drills the Secretary of the Treasury, Steven Mnuchin, about what she deemed as a deliberate effort to squelch the plans to put Tubman on the $20 bill, citing that there was a community process. She's literally whining to Steven Mnuchin, and you can pull the video up. She's whining to him, you know, why isn't there more done? Why hasn't this been done yet? There were grassroots efforts. There were a community process. As if these are reasons enough for him to accelerate, you know, and go above and beyond what President Trump has ordered to be something that's not that important right now in the sake of money, time, resources, and what is going on in the country, you know, for him to do something about it and sidestep that. So I would say, so what? You know, okay, grassroots efforts, community process, there are lots of those things that go on that never materialize, right? People organize to do all types of things. So is it so important that all this time and money and other resources be used to make a political or cultural point? She also went on to ask him if he supported Tubman on the 20, and did he believe that that kind of imagery was important? Is it that important, guys? Yes, Harriet Tubman is an important historical figure, but is this fight that important? Is this really that big of a deal? As Representative Pressley continued her questions, you can watch in this video again, and I encourage you, her body language, her general demeanor were such that she appeared snide. She appeared to place herself on a pedestal, looking down in disgust at the white man that she was questioning and how he wasn't giving her the answers that she wanted. You can literally see this, you know. You don't have to be a body language expert to see this and understand or to assume what might be going on in her head, okay? You can see it. She stated that she believed diversity is our greatest strength and the greatest contribution to our economy. Is that true? Is diversity really the greatest strength? Is it? I'm not saying diversity is not important, okay? This is certainly not from a racist point of view, which I am not. I just think it's a ridiculous argument to be having, a ridiculous thing to be spending so much, again, time, money, and resources on. She goes on to ask Mnuchin if he thought that representation and imagery were important in American politics. Now, as she continues on, it's obvious that what she's asking about is not representation like you know, representing the people as a political figure, but literal physical representation, your image. And she even says imagery. She even has to repeat it because Mnuchin wasn't sure that she actually said imagery. I mean, are we talking about imagery here? So what, of course, should be the most important thing in politics is actual policy. Okay, but we all know this is just a scam. Listen to this obvious setup of a question that Representative Presley asked Mnuchin. She says, Mr. Secretary, do you believe that people other than white men have greatly contributed to this country and its history? I mean, that's a setup question, right? That's a red herring right there. Of course, his answer was yes. Mine would be yes as well, because it's true. I mean, it wasn't just white people that built this country and that had great contributions to this country. Harriet Tubman was indeed a great contributor to history, to what has taken place in this country. Again, the abolition of slavery, and she played a big part of that. But what is the greatest contributors? What is the greatest contributors to our economy? Nay, to our society. I would say, me personally, real world prepper would say freedom, hard work, patriotism, the Constitution, love, you know, God. It doesn't matter your color, it doesn't matter your name, it doesn't matter your lineage, where your folks came from before, you know, generations ago. If you are an American and you are born here in America or made a citizen here of the United States of America, then get on board. Be an American. Support freedom, support hard work, support patriotism, support the Constitution, uphold it. The ridiculousness of this entire situation. That was loud. The ridiculousness of this entire situation, to me, illustrates a few things, and these are in no particular order. One, the gross misuse of funds, time, and other resources, as I've stated a few times already, by our federal government. Just another example of this gross misuse that is rampant. Number two, the blatant and continued race baiting and white shaming being perpetrated by the left. Come on. They want white, conservative, males, heterosexuals. They want to make us feel little and less than, and that we owe everybody everything. And if you can't see that, you might as well click off this video now. Three, it illustrates that we are indeed a nation divided with no end in sight to the division. On the contrary, we are being polarized against one another, even more so through this type of social engineering. And that's what this is, more social engineering. And four, the fact that the powers that be are very good at using sleight of hand. They are very adept at distracting the sleepwalking, brain dead, liberal apologists, and many so-called conservatives, to the point that most Americans cannot or will not see the real problem. The socialization of our nation, the erosion of our freedoms, the downhill slide that we're on as a country. So to me, this is all a great reminder why we prep, okay? As I will always remind you, prepare, prepare, prepare. A day of reckoning is coming. If you can't see all this as part of a greater plan to keep you distracted, to keep you bickering, while meanwhile everything is falling apart, you know, Rome is burning and the Dems are fiddling away. So are you ready? People are ready to destroy one another. Are you ready? Can you take care of yourself and your family? Can you do it now? Can you do it when the crap hits the fan? When everything comes crashing down? Are you no longer, when you are no longer just being verbally abused and accused, can you take care of yourself? For being white or any kind of other than what they're trying to sell you. Are you ready? When they no longer are doing it verbally, right? When they're no longer just calling you names and attacking you and telling you you're an evil, bad person, but they come after you physically, physical attacks and confrontations. Are you ready for that? If not, get ready. Get ready, boys and girls. Just another example. Thank you for watching The Real World Prepper. I will see you next time.